Okay, here we go. This is a unique normally it's the message, but when I read this chapter I was just like, oh my, well, I know what we need to do here. It was very clear, and I'm excited for those that are going to join me tonight, and I'll explain as I'll dive into the message first and kind of transition. But I do want to open the floor tonight. I know normally we do message open floor, but I'm actually going to be opening the floor again. You know me, I'll continue talking now if y'all don't raise your hands. But I do want to get into this message. So, all right, we prayed in, we're out here. Let me make sure I got the chat ministry up. Okay, here we go. So, we're transitioning from our last session. And breathe, ladies, breathe. I know. Some of us are in here, I can feel it. Just, breathing through the week, right? And this is why I really appreciate this chapter, because it's called Standing Ovations and Longing to Be Loved. And she pretty much just tells a very short story of a time where she was with her friends, and it was just a good story. I was kind of reading this chapter waiting for the tea, because every chapter there's somebody telling some different story about the drama, right? And then how God showed up and turned the drama around. That's got to be our goal in life, right? Our goal has to be, how can we reverse the drama in any situation in our life? There's going to be dramatics, but how can we bring peace? And how can we show God's love in every relationship? But inevitably, how I've heard people say, I'm just staying away from the drama. Listen, that drama knows your address. It knows your new address. It knows your new phone number. You change your phone. Drama, if you're going to run into people, it's inevitable. Now, your response to drama can change. Your engagement with drama and negativity and giving certain energy to it can change. Your response to gossip and, things that kind of light the flame to drama can change. So that's what I appreciate about this book, is because she dives into different, in my opinion, dramatics that we experience, different situations that we experience with different people, and how to begin to sit back at the table with some of these dramatics. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. And one of the things I realized is, we talked about this. Sometimes you may sit back at the table for a while, but sometimes you may only sit back at that table once every other month, maybe once every 6 months. Every relationship in your life deserves to be analyzed individually. And this is what we were talking about last time, because if you categorize every person to be a certain way, that's how you start finding yourself isolated, because you just don't trust no one at this point. Forget it, right? Because you done been through so much, and there's a lot of unresolved there, that everyone that approaches you, you are dealing with them exactly the same, and that's not fair, and you're missing out on the people that God is bringing in your life for different reasons. So you cannot, even though it's easy, especially as women, because we have so many categories in our minds, it's so easy to just put up the wall to everyone and approach everyone the same. It's not the healthiest. And you tend to find yourself in an isolated place. So I encourage you, as we deal with the different dramatics of different people. And let me tell you, look, the dramatics can come from us and we don't even know it. One of the biggest things I realized about myself in dealing with people and just really having to take a step back is, it is easy for me to analyze. I could write 3 books about what you done did or how you could have. But then when I started analyzing myself, I found 10 books. So I said, all right. And I'm exaggerating, but in the sense that the moment you take your eye off of what the person is doing and how you can respond and how you're engaging and what you could be allowing, right? In certain relationships, we're talking here, you start to really see a lot. And you give God the opportunity to show you how you can change and shift that perspective. So I'm going to explain to you why I'm opening the floor. Like I said, I was reading the chapter and looking for the dramatics, looking for the tea to figure out what this story was about so that we can figure out, okay, how do we deal with this from a Christ-led perspective? That's all it is, ladies. That's all it is. All we talk about here is real life and how to deal with it realistically from a Christ-led perspective. Period. And what's so beautiful about life is everyone's uniquely made. So the way that your sister is dealing with it and how Christ is leading her to deal with it, it may look different for you. And where we get caught up as women is we be like, now why she? Right? Because, we're like, that was me. If that was me, well, it's not, and we have to learn how to separate ourselves from how everyone else should be doing things and yet still come together. It's a challenging thing. Separate yourself from how you feel everyone else should be doing things, but still be able to come together and support what God is doing in that person's life versus how God is having you deal with it. Okay, so that's why when we open the floor, it's a beautiful thing because you can hear real life situations. We ain't out here talking about, yes, there was a person at work and I went in the bathroom and prayed and all was well. I'm like, well, then I need to come hang out with you. Because I went in the bathroom and prayed and I came out and I was still mad. It takes some time. It takes time. It takes process. That person done said something else. And I said, Lord, I went in the bathroom and I prayed the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? So it takes time. It takes a process. It's Jesus is probably constantly chuckling at the way we are really, putting the effort. And that's why he says, daughters, don't grow weary. Pretty much he's like, I know this can get exhausting at times, this thing called Christian life as a woman in this world, but don't get tired. Trust in me, rest in me, and you will soar up on my wings like eagles. Okay, but don't give up is what he's saying, because he knows that at some point you are going to sit back and cross your hands and say, Lord, I'm about to lose my mind and this thing called Christianity. I'm going to still love you, but I don't know if you're going to love me after the way or after what I've already done, right? And he said, oh, I already knew where this was going, but I want you to still reel it back in. And so that's what we've been talking about for these last few months, about how to regulate our emotions with people, how to navigate the different dramatics, the energy, and learning how to give people a chance so that God can really use you in relationships, right? But what I loved most about this was there was really no tea. There was no drama in this chapter. This story was about a woman who met up with a friend who she doesn't get to see often. And she was at a stage in her life where all of her kids were finally off to school. So she kind of it was just a transition that women around the world experience, right? So she's kind of just mentioning it. And, she was just, her friend asked, well, how do you feel? The house is kind of, empty now. And she's like, I feel good. And it was so odd and interesting. They were in a restaurant and the friend begins to applaud her. And it was actually two of them. They began to applaud her, and it was a little embarrassing that the restaurant, other people are looking, and they stood up and applauded her. They said, I know you're looking at it because so many women have been at this milestone, but you've done so much, and look at all God has done. And, she really started thinking about the years that she spent raising these kids and going to school and the meetings and everything. And all of a sudden, it's just, you turn around and that's it. These kids, the last one is in school on his way off. And she said that standing ovation, though a little uncomfortable, was also so filling for her. And the main theme of this chapter was we don't take time as women, and even sometimes as friends. We might say, yes, girl, you did that, really good. But to really applaud our sister, we are constantly communicating about what's going on, what's the tea, where's the drama. And sometimes there are some milestones that come along, like birthdays. Shout out to my mom, who just celebrated her 65th birthday. And there are some milestones in here. Shout out to all my October birthdays in here. We need to start getting into these October birthdays. And anyone that's just crossed a milestone, please let us know. But that's what this is for today. Okay? I want to take a moment to be intentional about us loving on each other. I want to hear something that you've accomplished. I don't care if you think it is the smallest thing, because it is such a power movement to know that you are being acknowledged and loved on and celebrated as a woman. And some of us in here, and I love how this chapter kind of moved me, because there are times where depending on where we are in life, we don't really feel that celebrated. Where some of us women don't even share too much about what we're doing. And she even mentioned that sometimes you'll have somebody share, and maybe maybe somebody got a huge promotion at work, and this is probably me, right? Like, maybe I got a little raise and I'm hyped and I'm like, oh, and then I go out and somebody's like, I just got promoted to president. And then I'm looking at myself like, oh, okay, I'm not going to say anything then. And that's how we do naturally. Sometimes we belittle what God is doing in our lives. That's great that she got promoted to president. But what God did with my little raise is amazing to me in my situation, on my timeline, in my chapter of my book. And therefore, it should be celebrated. And God should get the glory for what he is doing in your life. And she ultimately concluded the chapter, which is what I love, is, no matter how we may feel we need to push people out, or this person, or I just can't take it no more. The reason why we got to really figure this thing out when it comes to relationships is because God has put in each of us a longing to be loved. Period. And you're not going to be able to escape that. And you know how the song says, if you don't embrace the people that God has brought into your life, you're going to start eventually looking for love. Yep, in all the wrong places. Because you have to be able to say, okay, God, we can't really, I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish we can, but I don't know how offensive this is, but we can't really go out there and handpick our friends and family. Imagine coming into this world and you get like this screen and you get to say, let me get a loving sister and a supportive best friend, then let me get a non-backstabbing coworker. Just imagine, you're like, okay, I'll take it. And he's like, okay, you gotta spice. Okay, I'll get a little bit of a spicy person, but at least I know it's coming. See, the difference with life is you get into connections with people and you don't really know what's coming. And that's why many times it hurts. It feels like a betrayal. Things start out some type of way, and then the closer you get to people, the harder it is. The more you love, the more you experience love, the more you'll experience some serious heartbreaks. But love is also worth it, because love wins in the end. Love conquers all sin. It conquers all heartbreak. And like we were talking about that one session, don't let your hearts grow cold. Because when your heart starts to harden, it is very difficult to start realizing how you are isolating and pulling away and potentially looking for love in the wrong places. When your heart begins to harden, you're not just blocking out people, but you're blocking out God. And you're desensitizing yourself to his voice and the Holy Spirit, right? So you want to be very, very, very careful with that. So today we're here. Yeah, ladies. We're going to sit on the couch. All right. We're going to sit on the couch. And I don't know, it just fills me up so much because I'm looking at these faces, the ones I can see and the one I can't see. And I know God has done some things in your life that means something to you. I know that there are some milestones. I know where there, even if it's just a rebel, sometimes a big accomplishment isn't even something you can touch. It's like, oh man, I got this epiphany, and it's just, God has just given me so much peace in this year that I haven't experienced. Whatever it is, I want to open the floor to hear about what God has done in your life. I want to hear about accomplishments, achievements, no matter how big or I'm telling you, if you're feeling nudged to share it, and I want us as women, because I'm going to open the mics up to celebrate our sisters tonight. I want us to have a good time in God and celebrate our sisters. I'm telling you, if you read chapter 8, I'm not holding back. Y'all know I don't hold back. It was literally the entire chapter. First I said, Lord, no, what am I doing this? I said, where's the tea? Huh? Where's the drama? We want to get into it. We need help here. And he said, no. My daughters need to be celebrated, and they need to know that they are loved and that they are seen. So many of us do not feel seen. So many of us do not feel, and I know this is going to be a hard one because we'll be so quick to share the struggle, to share the flaw, but we are not quick to share the accomplishment. We're not quick to say, this is what I had a 7-page paper and I was able to, I don't care what it is. You treated yourself to something, you found forgiveness, you found Jesus. No matter how small or big, I want to open up the floor. So the floor is now open. I will stop recording once I see the first hand. But I do want to encourage you guys that even after this meeting, I want to challenge you to go to the sisters in your life and ask them, and she even said that it begins with a question. It begins with listening, and ask them, what's going on? What have you accomplished? Tell me something good. Sometimes you say, maybe using the word accomplish, because some of us, we don't even consider accomplishments. That if you were to tell me, I would say, man, I wish I could have accomplished that. But you say, tell me something good. That sounds like a song, right? Tell me something good and celebrate them. And I guarantee you, you're going to notice such a difference that you impart into that sister. Or maybe you know of someone that just crossed a milestone or achievement, or just got to a certain place, free from addiction, there are so many things. And to be able to celebrate someone is to be able to show Christ's love. And here's another last thing, because I see a hand. Yes, Lord. With those difficult relationships in your life, like we talked about in the last session, how Jesus prioritized the challenging relationships. I don't know what Jesus was doing, but he's God, and he knew what he was doing, because he knew that we would come to this place where we would rather disregard and push away the challenging relationships, but he prioritized them. So maybe some of you have been rolling around these messages and you don't know where to start. Start with maybe celebrating that person. Send them a congratulatory card or something, even if it's just a message, a text. If you haven't been struggling on figuring out how to get back at the table with someone, and it may not be a relationship, like I said, you got to learn how to boundary it. Maybe you can't talk every day with this person, but you can still let them know that you're there, and God wants you to resolve that. Sitting back at the table, again, does not always mean that you're gonna, grab each other's arm and skip out happily ever after. It just means God notices something in you and you gotta resolve it. And he wants you to reapproach the car. I was listening to a video and it said, if you can find what's not working in a relationship and learn to transform that part, then you can truly love someone. I was like, ooh, because it makes so much sense. Sometimes it is literally about a relationship that keeps going downhill because you need to learn how to transform that piece that ain't working. It could be it could be a level of access that you're giving to them that they can't have. It could be too much communication. It could be too little communication. It could be the approach. It could be whatever it is. But if you could transform that part that keeps bringing it down, knowing that God has placed this person in your life and they ain't going nowhere, right? Then you will find so much more peace and you will be able to love that person truly and continue to celebrate them. So I am going to end the recording because the hands are up. And like I said, ladies, we are going to be intentional tonight. I'm going to unmute the mics so that we can celebrate each woman who shares something. And I feel some of y'all being nudged and you're like, no. And if you really are feeling hesitant to speak on it, head over to the chat ministry and we will shout you out. Let us know in the chat something that you would like for us to acknowledge and celebrate you on tonight. Does that sound good? As we head into Thanksgiving, all right? All right, let me end this